Welcome. Today we're introducing anatomy and physiology. While we'll cover the structures, our main focus is physiology, how the body actually works.
Medical science divides the human body into two primary disciplines. Anatomy describes the physical structures of the body, what they are made of, and where they are located. Physiology, on the other hand, is the study of how those anatomical structures actually function. These two disciplines are permanently linked by a core biological principle. Form enables function, and function dictates form. A cardiac muscle fiber is built with a specific arrangement of proteins because its sole purpose is to generate dynamic contractions. Scaling up from a single fiber to the entire organism, the human body is constructed through a strict, complex hierarchy. Navigating this architecture requires a standardized, three-dimensional coordinate system. To understand how this biological machine operates, we need to map its spatial layout, identify the 11 primary organ systems that sustain it, and observe the specific mechanisms those systems use to maintain internal equilibrium. Identifying these physical coordinates provides the necessary baseline for analyzing the more complex physiological processes that follow. Human organization begins at the microscopic chemical level. Atoms, the smallest stable units of matter, bind together to form complex molecules, like the intricate protein filaments required for biological movement. These molecules organize themselves to form the cellular level. Cells are the smallest independent living units. When specialized cells work together, they form the tissue level. Once two or more distinct tissue types combine into a specialized structure, we reach the organ level. Multiple interacting organs then combine to form an organ system. Here, the heart pairs with an extensive network of blood vessels to manage the transport of oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. The human organism operates using 11 of these distinct organ systems. The skeletal system provides structural support. The nervous system directs immediate responses. The digestive system absorbs nutrients. While biological complexity builds sequentially from chemical bonds up to whole organs, the final result is singular. Ultimately, the entire human organism relies completely on the total integration of these 11 distinct systems to stay alive. Because the human body moves, medical professionals require a universal reference frame to locate structures reliably. This is the anatomical position, lying supine or standing upright, with hands at the sides and palms facing forward. It is the absolute starting point for all medical mapping. Using this position, we divide the exterior into regional landmarks. The axial region encompasses the central axis, the cephalic, cervical, and thoracic regions. Extending from that axis is the appendicular region, including the brachial, antebrachial, and lower limb structures. Mapping the posterior or dorsal surface uses a parallel set of coordinates. Continuing down the back, we locate the lumbar region of the lower spine, the gluteal area, and the popliteal space directly behind the knee. To describe the relationship between these regions, we use directional vectors. Superior denotes a structure toward the head. Inferior indicates a structure toward the feet. Anterior refers to the front, and posterior targets the back. When mapping limbs, we orient based on attachment to the trunk. Proximal means moving closer to that attachment point, while distal means moving further away. Establishing this precise vocabulary is a clinical necessity. It eliminates ambiguity, ensuring that a surgeon in one hospital and a radiologist in another are navigating the exact same physical space. External landmarks are useful, but clinicians frequently need to estimate the location of hidden internal organs based entirely on the surface of the skin. To do this, the abdomen is divided by intersecting axes. This image illustrates the 4 abdominopelvic quadrants, the standard grid used for rapid, general diagnostics, like pinpointing the source of sudden pain. When higher precision is required, anatomists divide the same area into 9 specific abdominopelvic regions, as shown here. Looking at this overlay, we clearly see how internal structures align with the grid. The bulk of the liver occupies the right hypochondriac region, while the stomach sits firmly within the central epigastric region. To visualize these internal spaces in true 3D, we rely on 3 2D sectional planes: the sagittal plane splitting left and right, the frontal plane separating front and back, and the transverse plane cutting across horizontally. Using these planes, we examine the ventral body cavity. This interior space is physically partitioned by a thick sheet of muscle called the diaphragm. The diaphragm divides the space into the superior thoracic cavity above and the inferior abdominal pelvic cavity below. Organs within these cavities are encased in highly specialized double-layered structures known as serous membranes. This diagram demonstrates the architecture of a serous membrane. Imagine pushing your fist into a balloon. The visceral layer lies against the organ, like rubber touching your fist. The parietal layer forms the outer wall, with lubricating fluid trapped between them. Applying this to a transverse section of the thoracic cavity, we see this exact architecture in action. The pleural cavities envelop the left and right lungs, while the pericardial cavity encases the heart, each defined by their respective serous boundaries. These fluid-filled membranes are critical physical adaptations. They permit internal organs to change size dynamically, protecting them from friction and impacts as the body moves. All of this physical architecture exists to support one overarching biological imperative: homeostasis. This is the dynamic equilibrium required to maintain a stable internal environment, even when external conditions become chaotic. A homeostatic mechanism relies on three components. A receptor detects a stimulus, sending data to a control center, which commands an effector to carry out a response. This negative feedback loop allows internal conditions to fluctuate tightly around a predetermined set point. Thermoregulation provides the clearest example of this mechanic. The human body functions optimally at a strict set point of approximately 37 degrees Celsius. If the external environment pushes internal heat above 37.2 degrees, the receptor phase begins. Temperature sensors located in the skin and brain detect the variance and fire signals. During the control center phase, the hypothalamus receives these signals, recognizes the danger, and transmits immediate commands to reverse the warming trend. Finally, the effector phase executes the necessary physical cooling response. Blood vessels in the skin dilate to release heat, while sweat glands activate to rapidly cool the surface via evaporation. As the core temperature drops, the initial heat stimulus is removed. The sensors stop firing, the effectors stand down, and homeostasis is fully restored. A negative feedback loop like thermoregulation proves that survival requires coordination. Multiple organ systems must execute precise functions across physical space simultaneously to maintain balance. While negative feedback corrects a deviation, the body also utilizes positive feedback. In this process, the initial stimulus produces a response that intentionally amplifies the original change in conditions. Pushing the body away from its normal baseline is inherently dangerous. Therefore, positive feedback loops are rare, deployed exclusively to resolve severe, immediate crises, where a rapid, escalating response is required. In response to severe blood loss, damaged cells release chemicals into the bloodstream. This triggers a compounding chain reaction, recruiting more cells and releasing more chemicals. This escalating loop terminates only when a solid clot forms, plugging the gap and restoring homeostasis. From the microscopic binding of atomic structures up to the macroscopic orientation of limbs and body cavities, every physical layer serves a precise biological function. The human machine functions through the constant integration of its static anatomical architecture and these self-regulating physiological loops.
Thanks for watching. If you want to stay informed and catch our next lesson, please like and subscribe. See you in the next one.